In a dark corner of the world, three men will work together to bring you a podcast like no other. This is Fanatically Correct, where the fans, the geeks, and the nerds are always correct. With your host, MSK, Yo Peace, and Omega.
So, welcome to another something different, something new episode
It's never
of Fanatically Correct.
It's always something new.
It's
always
never
something
different.
It's always different because it's different. So, yes, welcome to Fanatically Correct. I'm your host, Omega.
MSK.
Yo, peace.
And we have a very special guest with us today. It is Stephanie Nadolny. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Thank you
Hello.
so much for
you
joining
doing?
us. Of course, everyone knows her as the voice of many, many characters for the most part, hence all the Dragon Ball Z for saying in our video stuff.
Yep.
Kid Gohan, Kid Goku, of course, Team Gohan, East Kai, and so many more. Okay, always one of the more recent ones. All the Dragon Ball Z video games and so many voices. I just been going nuts on your IMDb on the IMDb
It's a lot.
Pro.
It's a lot of
It's
Dragon
a
Ball.
lot. You have done plenty of voice work, and we are so honored and so thrilled and so happy to have you with us. How are you doing
you, thank
today?
I'm doing good. I am staying cool. I love the AC. We had our
Yes.
hottest summer on record, our hottest day during
On
the
record.
summer on record today. So we're all just melting down here in North Texas. Let me tell you. Whew.
Wow.
So she will be now going from the hot melt of North Texas to the humidity of South Florida.
Yep.
Doesn't get any
Uh,
better.
Yeah,
It
it's
does not.
fantastic.
No,
We love air
yes.
conditioning down here too. It's a necessity.
Yes.
Stephanie, join us because this Friday, so most likely you're watching this episode. Today is Friday that you're watching this, is pretty much what's happening. And so that means tonight at Flynn's Arcade and More, Stephanie will be joining us from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. That's in Margate, Florida. That's the Broward County location. Then on Saturday, she'll be doing the Miramar Comic Expo in the city of Miramar. That is from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. She's going to be there all day for that con. It is a free event to enter con, and of course there's different pricing for photographs and autographs as well as all the other vendors, everything else we got out there. Flynn's Arcade and More will be out there too with free cabinets and computer games and all that wonderful stuff, consoles to play on. Which then Saturday night we were heading from there to Boynton Beach to our friend Jimmy over at Famous Faces and Funnies 2.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, 2.
Don't forget the two.
One is in Melbourne.
Oh yeah, one is
So
Melbourne.
2,
Yeah.
which was previously the Tate's Boynton Beach location. Jimmy was the proud purchaser of that location. He was the manager of the Melbourne Famous Faces and Funny, so hence the 2. So she will be there with us 5:30 till 9 p.m. And then she's doing the Miami run down with Mike over at New Era Collectibles. He's having another wonderful pop-up event. He had a good one a few weeks ago with some couple of Power Rangers, and now we're gonna have our wonderful Dragon Ball Z alumni, Stephanie, with us, as well as her other friend Stephanie,
Woohoo.
who's a big cosplayer influencer in the Dragon Ball community, and that's her appearances from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The event begins at 11 a.m. and I believe it's till 6 p.m. And there'll be food and all that wonderful stuff out there as well.
Yeah,
Also free
fun.
to attend. And then, of course, you just got to reach into your wallet for the stuff you buy and the pictures you get and the autographs you get.
That's
and
a
all that.
full weekend right there.
That
Yes,
weekend
it
is
is.
gonna be
I
Yes,
love
it
so
is.
my
It's
busy.
good
kind
to
of
know.
weekend. I'm
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the whole Tasmanian devil. So the
Yeah.
more the merrier. I love staying busy. I love meeting and greeting and jumping from one location to the next, and the little miniature tour. It's going to be great. I'm
awesome.
really looking forward to it, and I really appreciate you guys and whatever it is you did together as a team to put it all together and make it happen. And man, the promotion has been stellar.
Yes,
Uh,
and
It's
we
good
thank
to
you
hear.
for that too.
Right.
Every location we're doing their spot, and you've been sharing, and the community's been sharing. We're happy for that, and know we're gonna have a good turnout. We're really excited for it, so we really can't wait.
Yeah, I'm hearing from a lot of fans and stuff in my DMs, and I'm getting
Excellent.
some fan mail on my website, stephanienadolny.com, and I've got people, asking questions about it, and they're trying to choose, which one's best for their schedule. That's why there's so many different ones, so people can
Yep.
pick and choose. So we just hope to hit the whole.
So that is the
Tri-county.
beauty. Everything is close enough to its county and its location and its
Yeah.
market, but because of the different time schedules, Obviously,
Yeah.
if an evening doesn't work for someone or a daytime doesn't work for someone, it's not that far of a drive if they really want to get out to you and
The
have the
other one.
opportunity to meet you and get your picture and get some autographs and stuff like that. And for the Miami
Yeah.
peeps, especially that's in the down south Miami area by the Miami Airport. In case you don't know, but look it up. Follow New Era Collectibles.
Okay.
JSA will be joining us there. That's the authentication.
Oh,
So in the
wonderful.
Miami location
Wow.
for you collectors in the Miami area, we will have authentication there as well.
Come on through. Come on through.
Yep.
Love
Tried to
that.
have in all the locations,
Exciting.
but busy people as well.
Yep.
Something we usually start with, and then we'll just jump in back and forth. And I usually always start with the Q&A panel too, but since it's the podcast, we'll kind of sum up the short story. Is just a little bit of your origin story, like what got you into your predominant area of expertise, which is voice acting. Is it like something you always wanted to do when you were a little kid to get into acting and singing, or was it something that happened upon you? Was it like a second
Oh,
plan?
right.
Like,
It's
what's
got
the
everybody's got
base
their
story?
own path, their own
Yes.
origin story. Mine started out with me pursuing music, singing, being the number one goal, and I started singing and doing different and writing songs and poetry and lyrics and all kinds of stuff when I was little. And then I just grew up loving it even more and more, and I would got into the voices, more for fun. I'd be watching cartoons and I would try to see if I could mimic what I heard, or I'd make up my own characters, and that's how I would play with my dolls and my toys. And then once I got a cassette player which would record, I was absolutely just transfixed on the technology of being able to record and listen back, and that's when I really got more into the voices. And then as I got older, I got into dancing. I wanted singing, dancing, and acting, kind of everything, and did as much of that as I could. I got as much stage presence experience as I could, and then I moved around a lot, and then I ended up in where I'm at now, Dallas Fort Worth, and the went to college, and you know was actually majoring in dramatic arts, but I was also in my first band, my first professional band. I was asked to be through the fraternity that I was helping out with as a little sister. And
Okay.
they said, "Hey, we need a singer." I said, "Hey, let's do this." So I went over to their house and we recorded a demo and we started booking gigs. And then I got the job
Nice.
with Vince Vance and the
That's awesome.
Valiants, which was a touring band. And they met me through, they heard my voice through the window. Isn't that a weird story?
Wow.
It's crazy. They're like, "We want you to come audition
That's
for us." So they
cool.
stole me away. And I started working with Brave Combo. It's a Grammy Award winning polka band here in the Denton, Texas area. And I was asked to sing on their albums. And I started working with local bands, still touring with Vince Vance and the Valiants. And then from there, I was at a session, and I had done some work for Jemmy Industries, which is toy voices, could be anything from Easter bunnies to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, like all kinds of animals, but also they would also sing. So I was able to
Wow.
come up with these little character voices and also sing the songs, which
That's awesome.
was amazing fun.
Right.
But since I'd had that experience and I had done a little bit of work on Chuck E. Cheese as Helen the Hen, one of the directors was at the session because he was a big Brave Combo fan, and he gave me his information and we exchanged business cards. He had something in his mind that I didn't realize till much later. He wanted me to come audition for the Funimation dub, English dub of Dragon Ball Z. And he had already been recording it up at the Ocean Dub in Vancouver, and he was basically commuting back and forth. And then since Texas is a right to work state, and there's so much talent here,
Right.
he knew he was going to be able to find the right people for the right roles. And this was back in 1998.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Well,
that's how I
That's
got,
awesome.
I auditioned for all the female roles and ended up with the voice of Gohan. And I was really
That's
excited to take on
great.
something new that really catered to that side of me that really enjoyed, doing character voices and just weird, wacky stuff.
So
And so
how many seasons already in was Dragon Ball? Dragon Ball Z obviously in Japan
yeah.
before we dubbed it on this side. I'm just curious.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they got all the way through it, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
I'm not sure that the timeline, but I know that Dragon Ball started in the 80s
Mhm.
Yeah.
and Dragon Ball Z came later. And then, we started dubbing, as far as me and my castmates, very end of 98 into first of 99. And we started with the Ginyu Saga, which was somewhere around episode 53 or 54.
Yeah.
But who's counting? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and so we didn't know, and a lot of us, most of us didn't know what we were working, what the show was about. We didn't even know anything about Japanese anime.
Yeah.
We were dubbing in English, so we were matching mouth flaps and listening to direction, memorizing
Yes,
lines,
you had to
and
do
then
all of that.
one line at a
Right.
time. And it was like rewind, fast forward. So the sessions were, you know, we moved as fast as we could and we're as efficient as we could, but we still had to, we had constraints. We had technology constraints and we had to kind of stick with that.
And they work you because
Wow.
with Dragon Balls, I'm sure you've heard all the jokes, and it's something we always joke about too. There's a lot of dialogue in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and we always make the jokes about the fight
Episodes.
scenes that it takes 30 episodes for one fist
Yeah.
fight, because there's so much
There's
back
the
and forth trash
dialogue,
talking.
there's
It's a lot of
Yeah.
setup. Yeah.
a lot of reactions. I remember they called me the reactress because I had a lot of reaction. Gohan was not a prominent character when I first started. And so he was in the background a lot and making noises like shock and awe or taking off and landing and don't hurt my daddy and just, kind of minimal. But then as the show went on, he became a little bit more prominent. And of course,
Yeah.
we got the Cell Saga, and that's like
that's
prominent.
Yeah.
Personally, that's my by far still to this day, even with all the newer stuff that's out, my favorite set of episodes. I mean,
I'm pretty
that's
sure it's because
season 2, and it's like
we kind of grew up with it. So that's
Yeah.
that's what it
Exactly.
is.
So yeah, and that by far the Teen Gohan, that whole story, and like one of the most memorable images ever is obviously is the one-armed Gohan throwing the Kamehameha with Goku's spirit behind him throwing, and that whole story is just incredible. I mean, mind-blowing, and like that's actually what hooked me, because I had never seen Dragon Ball. I saw Dragon Ball Z first, and I started from the pretty much when Vegeta came in, which was what hooked me, which is a little hard because when you go back when Piccolo was a villain, it's sorry for me, Piccolo was not as great of a villain as he was.
Spoiler
as,
alert.
Yeah.
Vegeta
Spoiler
was a
alert.
villain. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. Spoiling it for
30 years, 20 years too late, but
how that works. Yeah, it's funny though because we had the stand-up comics. We just came from SuperCon a couple weeks ago, and that was one of the ongoing jokes. Yeah, it was a good time when the stand-up comics was talking about that, about what a terrible father Goku is, and what a good father Piccolo is actually.
That's what they're saying. And
Gohan.
sometimes fans will want me to say things like, you're not my real dad, or like Piccolo's my, or just funny things like that. Whenever I do my TikTok interactions, I'll sometimes do some stuff with different voice actors, some from Dragon Ball Z, some from others, and I just have a lot of fun with mimicking each other's lines or trying to have a dialogue between these two characters that are fictional. It's like we have a lot of fun with it, but yeah, no, I was working in my show band, traveling quite a bit and focusing on music and singing on albums with Vince Vance and other, local bands were, I was kind of a first call vocalist. If somebody got sick, they'd call me if I could come in. I became like a jack of all trades there for a while.
That's awesome.
I'd learned so many different music, 50s to the 90s, from, R&B, soul, jazz, Motown, and my music background and my sense of rhythm really helped me when it came time to dub these lines, because we had to match the flaps, and then of course I'd bash my voice with singing in a band. There were 9 of us on stage, and it was a loud show band, very loud, and so I had to train my ear. But the good thing is I'd been using my chops regularly with that since I joined that show band in 91. So by the time 98 came around, it wasn't near as much of a, it was a big ordeal, but I think I was a little more prepared. When I look back, I was a little more prepared than I realized. So even though it was painful and I had to do some vocal rest, drink a lot of water, and get a lot of sleep, I knew that it's because I had been using my chops all along. Singing in a band. Sometimes you got to get up there and sing when you're sick, and the show must go on. You're sleeping on airport floors. We were really rocking it. We were roughing it. We were.
That's awesome.
Rock and roll life, 3 girl singers, kind of like the B-52s meets Sha Na Na. We did costumes, characters, improv comedy, a lot of variety show, live music, anything from festivals, parties, weddings, special events, corporate events were the best. Yeah, the big giant corporate events where the companies come in, and then we just show them a good time. We did a lot of stuff with Mardi Gras and Mardi Gras balls. Vince Vance is originally from New Orleans. So yeah, it's a big deal. And so, I was kind of living the dream, not making it big quite like I wanted. So I was still striving and climbing the ladder, and really wanted to have a recording career. And I did record a full length album with Brave Combo's founder Carl Finch. It's called The Cookies, and I'm going to be working on getting that up. But we were working on that in 97 and 98. And it's really good. It's I'd like to get it up for the fans to have a listen and see if they
Yeah,
that'd
definitely
be
you
awesome.
should. That was what I was
Yeah.
gonna ask you. Is it where can we find it? Like where can
It's
we hear it?
original. Yeah, it's original music. It's all written by Carl Finch, and he had my voice in mind, and really, really interesting stuff. It's kind of like a Casio fusion, not really techno, but a little bit of ballads, but some real cool instrumentation,
That's
some
awesome.
different
Oh,
stuff.
you gotta
It'd be
share
nice
it.
to kind of,
Yeah,
we got to
post
get
it,
that
it
up
out
there. I got the permission. It's just a matter of learning the technology to get it posted.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, get it on
Yeah.
all the platforms, Spotify,
Yeah, all the
Apple
streaming
Music,
platforms.
and all the streaming, and get it out there and just share it. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the beauty, and that's one of the good things about one of the positives of social media,
Uh-huh.
is that avenue, because pretty much for the most part, like yourself, you're an artist, and
Mhm.
you'll notice that most artists have many other artistical talents and have more ways to tell their story and more ways to share their passions, and you're seeing a lot of that
Express it.
lately. You're seeing a lot of voice actors share music and musicians,
Yeah.
share poetry, and
Yeah.
and now with the
Yeah.
dangers of AI and stuff like
AI,
that,
yeah.
Right.
kind of thieving all of that. It's kind of even almost to an extent more important to share original human art for as long as we can.
Yeah.
But then that's fantastic. Yeah, you got to share that. We'll be definitely we'll support it. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
and it was something I was doing all the time. And I mean, man, I really miss getting in the studio and go through the process of writing and creating. I was able to do a kids' Christmas song for morning show radio, as well as write and produce one called Kids Halloween Rocks. They're both on YouTube, and those can be found on my website if anybody just wants to have a listen. They're
yeah, for sure.
cheesy.
Yeah.
They're cheesy. But they're great for kids, and they're very creative and cute. And I layered all the different voices and became 20
That's
little,
I got
20
nieces
little
and
kids.
nephews. They got kids of all
Yeah.
different ages.
They would
and
enjoy it.
That's
Trust
the
me.
stuff. Yeah, we got a 3-year-old is the youngest
Yeah.
on
Oh,
this
it's
panel,
perfect.
MSK. So
It's
he's
all
Oh,
about
perfect for that.
candy. Yeah, I did some parodies and jingles about the mostly holidays, so they're very novel. But I'd like to jump back at some point and like pick some material and really get in the studio again and record. I'm looking
Awesome.
forward to doing that. Hopefully next year is going to be
Nice.
when I do
Passion
that.
is still there.
That's great.
Passion
Yeah.
is still
Just-
there.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Yeah,
awesome.
we're just setting up the studio here, and then I've got some people I want to collaborate with
Excellent.
on the writing and the production part of it. So
Oh, looking forward to that.
That's
And then
awesome.
we can have you on the podcast to promote that at that time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We'll be happy and
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
take
sure.
advantage of your following. Merciless.
Yeah, if people want to listen, this is great. I mean,
That's awesome.
I know this was already going on before COVID, but COVID
Yeah.
definitely taught us a lot of things that we're, enabled to utilize now to get the communication out there and to
Oh,
share
yeah.
so many different platforms. And there's so much information out there.
No, take advantage and share, and at the end of the day, the most important thing is if it reaches and touches and entertains at least one person, then
Yes.
it was worth something. Besides the fact of you having the opportunity to get it out and to share what your passion,
Yeah, that's
what
the
you have in
important
you.
part is
Exactly.
being able to share exactly what you did back then, and you
Yeah.
didn't do it then, you can do it now. So
Yeah.
Right, because it's
Very
already
important.
recorded. It's already recorded
Exactly.
in masters. It just ended up getting
and you
shelved.
have that permission to do it. That's very
I do,
important.
That's the
Yes.
most
yes.
important. Yeah.
That's
Which
the
Just got to get it up
most
there.
important thing.
Which
Yep.
is
Oh, yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
So we like to nerd out a lot, and so just curious, like I don't know how much of a fan it is of the ongoing saga that is Dragon Ball, like, but when you're on these plane rides, and like the flight, heading over,
Flights,
what are you
long
into? Like
drives.
what are the shows you watch? What are the movies you dig? What
Oh.
do you what or the books you read? What's kind of your entertainment,
thing?
your escapism?
Yeah. My escape has always been, and probably always will be, music.
I'm starting to find that is the pretty big common denominator. With a lot of the talent we've been having the opportunity lately
Yeah.
to work with, is
Multiple
that
stuff.
music's actually the original passion, and they tend to. We have someone coming out, Stephen Constione. He's from Return of the Jedi. He's one of the guards or whatever. I had a conversation with him today. We're gonna have him out for Star Wars. That's in August. But same thing. He was a musician and he was on Billy D. Williams' label and doing. He fell into Star Wars and has done work with other Star Wars movies and
Yeah.
things like that, and is a background actor. Same thing
Yeah.
with Spencer Wilding, and of course Jenna's.
Yeah.
She's all Jenna Frank is all about music, but we're starting to notice that's
Wow.
kind of the more common denominator.
Yeah.
So it's funny to hear how passionate you are about music
multiple
and
things
how you
in
have
the
the
industry.
band, because it just seems to be the first passion of a big percentage of working
Yeah.
actors and voice
Yeah.
actors and anime actors and things like that. So
Right.
it's amazing
Right.
to hear this from you. So, but yeah, so that's a thought.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're doing the gigs anyways, and
Yeah.
like you
Well,
said,
and
you
I've
could
done that
try to
before
merge them a little bit.
when it's local. I've done I think 3 different Comic Cons with my friend David Saborio. He is a guitar player, and he comes to some of these gigs and gets hired to play anime, like
Okay.
instrumentals. So the last
Okay.
2 times that I met with him, I got up and sang the Yu Yu Hakusho theme, Sayonara Bye Bye, which I actually
Oh wow,
recorded
that's a great song.
years
Nice.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's me on the recording.
Oh
Originally.
really?
Yeah,
Look at
Wow.
that.
the animation theme, and so we did that one, and we did the Dragon Ball theme, which I have memorized, and I've done it some at the
Wow.
cons. I'll sing it a cappella, but if I bring a track or I have somebody to play with, it's always more entertaining and it's better for
Of course.
everybody.
Yeah.
So then we and then I just kind of help support him to try to get him gigs, but he's a little bit more limited with travel, so we try to get him hooked up in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and he could possibly go as far out as Houston or San Antonio. But
Wow.
he's great, by the way. We did WonderCon in Plano last year, and he did Kamehameha not this past year, but the year before that. So those are definitely things that I think about if it's something I can
Awesome.
manage. Especially, like I said, my band members are local here to Dallas Fort Worth. So if there was another big event that's
Wow.
coming up, maybe later this year, next year, I'll bring my band out and they can just set up and put the PA up and then rock it out. We know a lot of cover tunes too. We know a lot of
That's
70s
awesome.
and 80s, which a lot of people are, getting back into.
It's
It's coming
Yeah, for
around.
sure. Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I'll tell you, like that DJ set. He started with a lot
Yeah.
of disco stuff, and I'm like disco,
Ooh, my
but
favorite.
but mixed in
Yeah.
with with some techno tracks and some hip hop
Yeah.
beats, and it was a good
Yeah.
mixture jam. But yeah, he worked his way,
Yeah.
kind of did the typical decades
Decades.
progression. We started in the 60s and then worked 70s and then 80s and the 90s,
Yeah.
and pretty much
That's
stopped
awesome.
at the 90s. But it's wild, man. It's
Retro.
especially
Retro
cosplayers
is
are
back.
partiers.
Yeah.
Retro is
It
back,
is.
and
Yeah.
my
Retro's back.
kids like are into retro stuff all the
Stranger
time.
Things.
All like
Right.
Oh yeah, they're
anything,
bringing back
Oh,
everything.
I
Yeah.
love it.
anything. Well, music wise, TV shows, whatever, even
Yep.
styles. They're wearing everything is retro for them. Everything, every single
I'll
thing.
tell you, we have August 18th. I got to plug this for part of the podcast. August 18th, we're doing a Goonies interactive with the Sunrise Theater, who we have the Sunrise Comic Con with. Goonies, you know what I mean? And we're doing it interactive, so it's almost like Rocky Horror style, but same
Right.
thing. It's that retro, bring it back, and of course, he just won an Oscar. What was his name in Data, was it in Goonies? Short round from
Yeah.
Indiana
That's
Jones.
funny you said Goonies because Sean Astin was in that movie, and we're like
Yes,
almost
Sean,
exactly
yes.
the same age. And my second time, not my first time, my second time when I went over to Australia to do signings over there, Australia and New Zealand, he was
Oh,
one
nice.
of the other guests. It was 2004.
Wow.
Okay.
And I remember he didn't have any socks. Like he lost his socks or something.
That's
So I
funny.
went and bought him some socks. I was like, "Here's your socks." And I was like, "This is so cool." Because like we're the same age. So it's like when he was a kid doing his stuff, I was a kid watching it. And same thing happened
Right.
with Noah Hathaway and from the Neverending Story. And I just did
Wow.
an event in upstate New York early May with Tammy Stronach, and she is the childlike empress in that movie.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
And
yes.
Wow.
we're close to the same
Yeah.
age. I'm thinking, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, so she was 11 when she was recording it, and I was 11 when I was watching it. So
Yeah.
That's
it's just really
That's awesome.
interesting
And it's
to-
funny. It's funny that you brought up Neverending Story because that's Omega's like favorite movie from the 80s. So
Yeah.
One of them.
he loves that
It's one of the
movie.
most. It's one
He
of the
loves
most
it.
traumatizing ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It has
we have
something for everyone.
we have an
Yeah.
ongoing theory in the podcast that they sadly actually killed that horse. We don't believe for a minute that
Yeah.
that kid was that good of an actor and that horse was that
Well,
good
because
of an
the acting was
actor.
so good. Like
Yeah,
as a
that
child
horse,
watching it,
everything
You
that
told me
was
the last
happening
scene
in
that they
that
filmed
scene.
for that movie was that, and they just.
I feel like the actor thought that the horse was dying, and
Yeah.
the horse thought he was dying. So
Yeah.
either way, it was
Yeah,
great
it
acting all
was-
around.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
It was
too
just way
real.
too
It
good.
was too real for child Omega to watch.
Yeah. It was that one. Yeah. That one got me by by the heart, man.
Yeah.
But that's what we grew up with, and therefore it becomes nostalgia. And
Yep.
that's kind of what took me all these years to realize, why is there still a calling or a place or some kind of a commodity with this whole thing? And it's the same concept with Dragon Ball Z. Kids grew up watching it. It was their childhood, and now they're in their 30s,
They're growing up
20s,
again.
30s. Yeah, and then some of them watch it all over again with their kids,
But
and they want to.
it
So
is, but like it says, it is retro, and the what would be the classics. They're the pop culture now. I mean, my nieces and nephews, and I have some influence on them, but their parents not at all into anime, anything like that. And one of my nephews is big time into Dragon Ball Z. You'll most likely will see him out in the Miami location. And my godson just got into it, and of their own accord. Their parents never watched it. They weren't into it, when they were younger. They're not into it now, and just on their own because their friends are into it. And they're like, hey, you got to watch this, and they
Yeah,
get
when
hooked. And that's just one of those. You jump
Yeah,
at
and
the
when
right
you start
time.
watching animation, when you start watching anime and things of animation, usually Dragon Ball it's mentioned as one of the top anime. So when you want to get into anything that has to do with that, you're going to straight to Dragon Ball. It's like definitely the top 5 that are mentioned when it comes to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's becoming
shamelessly,
a generational franchise. So like every generation now is, we grew up with it. Now our kids are starting to grow up with it. So it's going to be like a Star Wars type franchise. I think it's
in
up
its
there.
own way. Yeah. And I'm very grateful for that, because it's very hard and competitive to get steady voice work nowadays. And I mean, there's such a big giant talent pool, and people are going back to, even though you have your own home studio and we record when we can, and COVID, a lot of these studios in LA and New York, would really like to utilize me and some of the others here, but they really, really prefer to work with their people now that everything's opening back up. They want their face-to-face sessions.
Right.
And so now it's just been getting I've just been getting creative with that and trying to find at least opportunities.
And on a quick note on the voice work, me and Yopis are shamelessly wearing our Fighter Fest. We did not plan that on purpose. Our Goku shirts. The video games, and you'll see it at Flynn's Arcade. We have Dragon Ball Z tournaments of the different fighter games and things like that for the video games. Are they just reusing your voiceover from the series, or are you specifically recording audio for the games?
I finished all my work in early 2009. I was in whatever video games were coming out, Budokai, Tenkaichi, and all of that. I was utilized for that, and those were completely different sessions. They weren't really watching. We weren't watching anything. We were literally just following direction and giving all kinds of dialogue and different lines from our character in different lengths and different levels of power, louder, softer, more drawn out. They did that way. They had a pool of everything they could possibly need to program the game to sync to what they ended up animating around the voices. That was a little bit different how we did it that way. But I haven't done one in a while. I know that my character grew up, and the Gohan voice was given a Kyle Bear when he went to school. And so, and I don't remember there really being any Dragon Ball games, unless there's some that might have come through that I'm not aware of. But it was a totally different process, and it was I mean, just everything's different. It just depends on what what's coming out, and
what type of media it's for.
Still doing super, I guess.
What's the type of thing that if it's completely up to you, dropping the hat in voice work specifically, because we've learned that your biggest passion is music, so we're gonna be wishing the best and supporting you and all of that. But in the voice work, what's the type of role or series or character that you're really hoping to get? Is there a specific character or maybe a kind of genre you would really like to get into?
If I had a choice and the opportunity came along to audition for a Disney type, wouldn't have to be Walt Disney, but a role that was a musical where I could sing and
almost like Trolls or sing, because obviously not just Disney tends to be like more of a a theater show animation, so they always do have singing parts, so it's more like theater as well as animation. But there are other studios and other production companies that are doing it.
Right,
That's why I said, like,
right.
the Trolls
Pixar
movie
and
and
different.
Sing, and a lot of good ones.
Right.
And
It's really hard to get into the big ones. You've got to kind of work your way up and kind of be at the right place at the right time. There's so much talent and so many people in the casting game, you know, so many directors. And I don't know. I mean, I think if I had moved to LA, I would have had a lot more opportunities to do a lot more, maybe bigger shows. Because when I was cast for KO and OKKO Let's Be Heroes back in 2012, we did the pilot, and I ended up flying to LA twice to record with the entire cast, which was totally different than anime. It was a non-anime role, but it was kind of the character was kind of a parody in a way, an offshoot of what little Goku was. So there was a lot of you know, fighting and exertions and stuff, but you know, we made sure to make the voice sound unique. But once we did the first 8 episodes, you know, the powers that be said, no, we got to go with a full LA based staff cast. So they found another girl, and she came in to mimic kind of what I was already doing. So I wasn't able to finish it out, but it was a very cool opportunity. And to be able to get to LA and tour Cartoon Network was a big dream of mine. And I was able to.
That's awesome.
That was super fun. That was back in like 2017, 16 and 17.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
So I'd like to do more of something like that and really get into some shows that are airing on Cartoon Network. But I do love the singing and the musicals and things. But I'm also like a super insanely silly person, so I really enjoy the over-the-top character voices, the really cartoony, like really having fun with like, it's Kai. Oh,
that's funny. It reminds me of like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah, just over the top, like wacky. I'm also able to sound completely different when I utilize different parts of my voice, and I really don't, you know, I'm really wide open to, you know, other opportunities, and I'm going to be looking for another agent here to see if that might help me get more opportunities as far as auditions and stuff go.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got my studio here, and I can record in other places if I need to, but I'm definitely ready and have the time during the week in between, you know, events to submit.
We're looking forward to, because that's, I mean, that's one of the biggest things, and we've talked about in other shows and segments how animation is it's a very strong medium now. And like, there's a conversation we had about between like the most recent films, The Flash and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that, you know, there was a time that you would never put an animated film over live action films, especially if they're the same genre, which is superhero. And we by far, we're not in the bandwagon of The Flash is a terrible film. It has some CGI issues, but the three of us, for the most part, overall enjoyed it. But compared to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, for so many reasons, including the incredible voice performances, including the style of animation and the music and everything as a package, is just, I think, probably the best film I've seen so far this year. It's easily top 3, and that's a more common denominator now on television, in the theaters, in all the medium is animation. So it's
animation.
Exactly, and it's an easier way to tell story without having to rush CGI or having to rush writing.
And you can explore so much more with animation, as far as the world that you're building around it, instead of the world that we have to, you know, make up. Yeah, that's all we have. There's only so much we can do.
We're limited. We're our
very
resources.
Limited.
And but with animation, you can use colorful backdrops. You can create other worlds, other planets. I mean, whatever it is the story can support with animation, they can do that. You just gotta have strongly that can draw that, or the people that can actually construct it and that can paint.
It's all the artists. All the artists got to get together and make that happen and bring it to the forefront. And it's a source of drama now. I mean, it's like, for the most part, animation's place, you know, before all of ours times, was only for children. And therefore, when I make this comparison, like with my parents, specifically my stepfather, he has a hard time getting into animated films no matter what. Where I come from a generation, I always explain to him, I go, well, our Saturday morning cartoons were different. My Saturday morning cartoons were Batman the Animated Series, X-Men, Gargoyles, cartoons that you can watch now as an adult and like, wow, these are really good deep stories and great performances and great acting. And Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all them fall in there. It is, it has its moments where it's, you know, it's campy and is geared towards children to be able to watch it, some of the humor and things like that too. But I mean, overall storyline, you have a son losing his father. They're fighting for the end of the world. And as much as you could try to say that's for kids, it's obviously not, because so many grown men. I mean, I don't even know how many tattoos you signed, or how many, you know what I mean? How many? I'm sure you have, because you all guys have tattoo stories. But I mean, you see it everywhere, and because it's a fighting genre animation, it's big in like the MMA community, in the boxing community, and in the physical.
People up, in the gym,
hypes
people
them up.
listen to the music, and they listen to the screaming and the Super Saiyan stuff, and they just get into it, man. If they use it and they lean on it to better themselves in a way and to inspire them, then all the more for that. I mean, that's
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like screaming right now. I'm not gonna do it just for the podcast sake. I feel like screaming. I feel like screaming right now. Yeah,
I use that one.
Being a fan right now, and I feel like screaming.
I was so hyped because I used that when I was looking up the music in Instagram, and instead of like looking up Dragon Ball Z music, I'm sure you saw it, because you shared it, you reshared it. Was one that I just typed in Gohan, and it had it says Gohan rage scream, or whatever. And it's just him getting louder and louder. I'm like, I gotta use this. I gotta use this.
That's exactly what I feel like doing right now.
Yeah, dude. As a kid, I was a teenager at the time too, so it's even more immature. But man, all the time in my head, I'm like, you just get the idea, like, man, I wish I could just level up right now. Like you get so mad, you feel like I like to strain a vein in my head and just like hair turn blonde and shoot up. I mean, no, it's wild. I mean, you're part of something. I mean, huge, and you know it, and I know you're gonna see it, and
very grateful.
Have the privilege to be there with you as it happens.
You know what I love is how, like, most of the times, as yourself as an artist, you're doing something because you're just doing it, but you honestly don't see how big some of these things become until you're actually out there with the fans. But I always hear it. I always hear it. Most of the time, especially voice actors, they're in the studios, they're doing what they're doing, and it's not until like years later when they realize, man, this is bigger than I even expected to be. It's so incredible to see that and hear that.
Yeah, and there's more of appreciation for voice actors now because of that, of the work you do,
also,
and other
the exposure that we were able to get with it. I didn't realize that we were going to have that much. I mean, I've been working on projects and back stuff and albums that never really go anywhere or don't ever get heard, and some amazing talent and creators and artists and singers and musicians, and the process of it is still the same. It's absolutely magical, but some of it doesn't get the exposure that it really deserves. I mean, there's stuff going on everywhere. I mean, it's easier to produce it and make it happen without necessarily having a record deal. Following the big money is who determines who gets marketed and who gets seen and everything. So the good thing is Dragon Ball Z was already such a popular show in Japan that by us dubbing it in English, it just made the franchise even bigger. And of course, they dub it in other countries too. Mexico, Mexico City, they have their version. So to have that, to have something that was already huge without us really realizing when we were recording, and then to have it happen and blow up and be a big deal for a while was kind of understandable. But the fact that I'm still doing appearances now, kind of coming out of the dark days, then COVID hit. It's like it's just nice to make a living doing something I love, and that's getting face to face with the fans and really listening to their feedback and like making them happy, and spending some time with each one of them and their families, and really hopefully giving them a really nice experience, not just like coming through a line and slapping an autograph on something. We interact and we talk and take pictures, and there's always just we do the poses, what do you want to do in this picture,
and we as fans appreciate when artists do that, and I'm speaking because of experience. We've met people where there's no engagement whatsoever, and it's such a letdown. As a fan on this side, I mean, especially when it comes with our kids, where kids are so like, and when you just don't pay any attention to a kid, it's like, oh man, that's so.
Oh, they feel
it's so sad.
Yeah,
so
we
sad.
all remember.
So we really appreciate when you guys out there and do the engagement and do the poses, do the voices. That's even bigger than anything else.
Yeah, and like using their names, getting to know them, taking pictures with them, and
making memories.
I personally love kids anyway. I mean, like kids are just I love them. I could be around kids all the time. So I've really enjoyed. I really enjoy that, and I don't like to rush anybody through. If there's a line, there's a line. But I don't. Yeah, and I'm a people person. I'm really down to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in small towns and moved around a lot. I traveled with a show band, so I've been around and learned a lot of different cultures behind the places that I visited. So, I've got an open heart and a wide understanding of the differences that we all share.
Fantastic! Really looking forward to seeing you this weekend and seeing you in action with the fans and everything. We always wrap up something up, so I'm putting you on the spot just a little bit. We always wrap episodes up with something we call a necessity. And what that is a necessity is like a necessity. So something that we would strongly recommend to someone who identifies himself as a pop culture geek, fandom, nerd, that's, into all the different pop culture things, anime, comic books, video games, movies,
books,
television shows, books, songs,
music,
you name it. So
music,
it's your necessity. So something that you would like your fans, that is something you have always enjoyed, and that you feel that if they have not experienced it in some way, that you recommend that is something that they have in their life at least once. What would that be? And you can take as long as you want. MSK can edit the pause.
Right. No. For me, the things like I said, the things I geeked out about, growing up when you're in those very impressionable years, you're not, you can't go out and drive yet. You're still growing up. You're going through middle school or puberty or whatever, all those horrible things that we have to go through. Like I said, my refuge and my sense of safety and oasis, besides my mother, who was always my biggest fan, was music. And I could stay in my room, with my, double cassette recorder, back when they first came out on my boom boxes, and I would record, radio. Record radio. I would sing songs to the karaoke track, which was kind of a new thing back then. I really just got into the albums and the album covers, and I really, I could listen to music literally like all day. Like if there was nothing else to do, I could retreat into music. And then, then the Sony Walkman came out. You had your cassette. You'd walk around,
game changer.
The headphones, walking around with the battery operated. And I'd have those on our road trips. We'd always take road trips in the car, and I would be in the back seat, and I could just literally get lost in the music. And I would bring my favorite music. I'd have a duffel bag with my favorite music and my favorite books, and I would just zone out. I'd listen to ABBA. I would listen to Donna Summer's ABBA. My favorite by far. Donna Summer taught me how to sing. So I had like all the disco music that my father listened to, and then I had the oldies music and the contemporary pop that my mother listened to, and then my dad also listened to the Beatles, and I got a little bit of Elvis in there. I'm from Memphis originally, so I love me some. Wow. So and then I've sung with a lot of different bands, and now I have such a more just amount of wow, I can't even think of the word. I'm just so impressed with some of these artists that now I'm performing in bands like, backup singers, lead singer, whatever. But mine was always music, piano, writing songs, poetry. I don't know. And that's what I geeked out about.
What was the first album? Because everyone has it. The first album that you would play over and over. Basically, the first cassette that you would just play it and play it until it spun out of control. That you could remember. What would
started with when I was very young. My dad had a stereo, and we would record onto 8-track tapes.
Okay. 8 tracks.
I mean, I was like 2 or 3, and I just remember doing that in the microphone thing. Oh my gosh. Once I had that microphone in my hand and it was time to go, it was a show, and you couldn't get it back out of my hand, and I'd start crying. It was time for bed. But then as I got older, it was the records that came along with the book.
Okay. Yes.
And then you would, when you hear this noise, bing, turn the page, Yes, so I really got into those, and I would just listen to those over and over and over. And I had my little golden books, and but I guess my first album that was mine that I had that I played over and over would be Donna Summer Live and More. It's her big live album. It came out in like 70. 7, I think. I'd have to look at the years, but it was live. It was all a bunch of her stuff and her performing live, and I absolutely memorized that album from front to back. And when it came time to get on the merry-go-round at school, it was showtime. And if anyone wanted to stay on the merry-go-round, I was going to give my Donna Summer concert.
That is awesome.
I still have that album, and it is worn out.
Wow.
You have that on vinyl?
Wow.
You have that on vinyl?
I have it on vinyl. I have
vinyl is
amazing.
Vinyl is so back right now. It's insane.
Oh, yeah.
We have a friend of ours, We Got the Beats, which is over by Tate's Comics. He has, every time there's a new album release, I haven't seen this since I was a kid, and it was for CDs and cassettes, mainly CDs already at the time when I was in high school, like Spencer's and places like that. And they line up every time a new album comes out. He's a vinyl store, and they line up down the block almost.
That sound
hundreds of people showing up for vinyl. It's amazing.
It's the best sound, yeah.
That sound is so amazing.
Retro, it's like the raw. You get the raw recordings, and
so it's all the classic stuff and all the new albums that are being released are all being released on vinyl now. Directly to vinyl. It's amazing. I mean, I brought it up a couple times, but it just blew my mind that I was like, what's the release? I thought it was going to be something like, like, did the Killers have a new album or something like that? It was Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift vinyl. I'm like, really? Taylor Swift shot it to vinyl? Like, it blew my mind.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're going back to analog by any chance, or if it's because it's been updated to digital for a while, ever since we did CDs and things like that. So I wonder if the sound quality has the warmth and the raw.
Not as strong. I have a newer vinyl for Outkast. It's still there, but it's not as raw as it used to be.
Yeah, that the original has. But
it's still there though.
It is amazing. It is amazing.
Right.
So, Stephanie, don't want to take any more of your time. I know you got more stuff. You're very busy, and you're less than 48 hours away from catching a plane and coming down to us. So thank you so much for the
excited. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun. My friend Stephanie is there.
Yes,
she's in the Fort Lauderdale area, and she is a huge YouTuber. She is the female with the largest Dragon Ball Z collection on the planet. She's going to be there with cosplay. I think she's going to have her own table at a couple of the events.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, she's with us at the Miramar Comic Expo, and for sure she's with us at New Era. Anything in between, we'll see. But she's definitely at both those events. That's why I myself, in the Fanatically Correct the podcast, have been sharing those events with her. There, she's going to be there. She's a great time. I got to meet her at SuperCon. She took a picture with this cool banner back behind me.
Right.
So we'll be out there together
with her. When was that? 4 years ago, I believe. I was at SuperCon. Okay.
Wow.
As a guest. It was a while back.
2019. Yeah, before COVID.
That sounds right. Yeah,
pre-COVID.
Before COVID.
So, that's a big one. But it'll just be me. Unfortunately, they're in cooler temperatures. Piece a little bit more in the state, and MSK got out of the state to a more cooler temp, but not as bad as humidity. But there's plenty of air conditioning everywhere you're going. I promise.
It's fine. I always have.
And safety for our attendees.
If I need to put
plenty of air conditioning and shelter.
Fans, a lot of fans.
Concerned. So yes, fans, air conditioning,
all types of fans,
like
all types of
air fans and your fans,
all Dragon Ball Z fans, OKO fans,
Stephanie.
There you go.
Yeah, Step Honey. I've got the puns for you. I've got the dad jokes, the mom jokes.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been excited. I'm already pre-packing. I've been doing laundry today and picking out luggage and trying to make sure I have enough merch, because sometimes I start to run out, and sometimes people mostly bring their own stuff, and that's fine. We just want to make sure we have enough available so that we don't run out. And I've got a bunch of brand new amazing oil-based paint pens for the pop toys. So get ready for those. I've got all the colors of the rainbow. So we're gonna have some fun. Make some really good memories.
Yep.
Yes.
And maybe we'll get some pics of you at the arcade playing some of the cabinet games and some console games.
There you go.
Miss Pac-Man, I'm there.
He's got Pong. He's got a classic. Yeah, he has two sides of the arcade. He has the classic arcade and he has the console arcade. You'll see, it's a great time.
I definitely geeked out about that stuff at ages, I think 11, 12, 13. That's about all we could do is get dropped off at the arcade, and those were my favorite games.
Awesome. That's the time. It's where you had the music and where you had the entertainment. So it's,
we'll make some TikToks and some video and some interaction stuff. It'll be great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So again, thank you so much. We appreciate it. So
thanks,
this
guys.
is Omega saying peace.
MSK, peace up.
Yo, peace. Feed us.
Word.
And there you have it, folks. This has been Fanatically Correct. Until next time, you crazy kids. Signing off.